My name is Abdelrehim Youssef. That's Abdelrehim Youssef if you want to pronounce it without the Arabic letters. I was born in Alexandria in 1975. That was 42 years ago. Anyway, I was brought up here in Alexandria, and I graduated in the Faculty of Education as an English teacher. I worked as an English teacher for 19 years now. And I'm a poet. I write in the Egyptian colloquial. I have 5 books of poetry until now. After joining the cultural scene in Alexandria in 1999, I participated first as a poet. Then I got involved more and more with the independent cultural scene in Alexandria until I worked with Gudran in 2004. And with time, I became to be the cultural coordinator of the cultural activities that Gudran does. And that work had another turn after the revolution, because we had another important place for us, which was opened in 2011. That was the year of the revolution and lasted until last year, until it was closed. It was called El Cabina. And in El Cabina, I work with my friend and colleague Ali Al-Adawi in order to make a monthly cultural program that varied between discussing books which were recently published, whether they were fiction or non-fiction, and to screen movies, to hold public discussions of sometimes philosophical matters or political issues, and that lasted until the last year. In 2013, my colleague Ali Al-Adawi and my colleague also Khulud Saeed, she is a translator and editor. She works in Alexandria Library, not in Gudran. But both of them, they had a very nice experiment with the UNESCO in Cairo, which was a workshop about the alternative media. And they had the project was to make one of the results of the project was to make a very limited website that concerns about the urban changes of the city of Alexandria, taking in consideration that Alexandria is the most city that in Egypt that has witnessed the urban changes, especially after the revolution in 2011. So many buildings in the old city were demolished and new high buildings were erected. Also, many of the classical places were changed into another new commercial buildings. Anyway, that wasn't only the urban change that happened after the revolution, but I mean Alexandria all through the last 50 years have witnessed lots of urban changes, and that was the concern of them and what they have made the website, and they published the issue which was called Tara al-Bahr, which can be translated into English and to be sea view. And by the way, this is a cliche that you can find in all the advertisements that speak about rented flats or new flats, and they can say the space of the place, how many rooms, and you can find all the time the sentence sea view. With a sea view, this makes the flat or the apartment with the high price. And usually, if you look at to see where is the sea view, you would find a very narrow blue margin on at the sky, and then this flat can see the. While we, as individuals, with time, we don't see the sea. We can't see the sea because all the public spaces, all the public beaches are being either nationalized by the clubs of the different unions or the army or any special any private project. We thought together of joining the same project of making Tara al-Bahr not only about the urban changes but also about the cultural changes. And we thought that after the revolution, two of them were going parallel to each other. You can see the city changing every day, and you can see the cultural activities in the city changing every day. And so in 2015, we applied for the Ibtikar project. It's a project funded by the CFI, the channel of the International Channel of France. And we got it. We got the project, we got the grant for Tara al-Bahr to be an electronic platform focusing on the cultural scene in Alexandria and the urban changes in the city, being in Arabic, having photographs, and we hope to have videos also about the city. But anyway, we began in November 2015 by launching the electronic platform, although we didn't get the governmental approval at that time. I mean, we got the grant, but as an NGO in Egypt, the law obliges us to get the governmental approval first before getting the money. But because we waited and waited, we began in November by launching the electronic form, and we began I can say, recruiting our friends to write and the other guys. The project also aimed to train new writers and new youth who are interested in writing about the city, whether in cultural and urban churches. And so we organized like 3 cultural trainings. And at last we got the governmental approval in June 2016, after a year of applying, and after a year, that was the time of the end of the project. We should at that time have delivered the final reports while we got the approval at that time. So we were lucky because the CFI were very understanding people, and they have modulated our contract again because we depended at the time on Gudron in getting the money to launch the electronic platform and to make our issues published. In 2004, I remember that I joined Gudron, and in 2005 we had begun to move our activities from the place in El Max, in west of Alexandria, into cafes in downtown Alexandria. And our idea was that art should move outside of the closed places and try to find its audience, instead of staying in the closed places where only the intellectuals go, whether they are visual artists or theater makers or filmmakers. We would try to go to the people and see the effect. And for me, it was a very good experiment, whether the reaction was good or not, but at least the people could know that here art can be presented outside of the place, and art can be tested in other forms than the forms they know from schools and from TV. And this stayed. I mean, whether by Gudran or other initiatives that made art accessible in the street. And the project for me, after the cafes, began by finding places which was open to the street, like a Dukkan, for example. It's a shop. Dukkan is a shop in the street in Manshaya, where people can pass by and find people sitting in a shop, either discussing books or screening movies or having paintings in an exhibition. After that, Al Kabina was another place for me which was open to the people. It was very free, and for me it was surprising that all these young youth who came all along the 6 years of working and became like a community. Kabina turned to be a community of youth who are coming all the day long, either to play music or to sit and have the books and read and laugh. And sometimes I was very annoyed because it's a library and should have some quietness. But I like this activity, and I can say that I miss it right now. But it gave us a push for us to have a place like El Wikala. But El Wikala is a little away from the streets. It's into very crowded neighborhood of the city, but it's flat anyway. Perhaps because of the political atmosphere that made it not very welcome right now in the last 2 years to work in the street or to make things in the cafes unless you have permissions from the police or from the government first. But after the revolution, this push made people. We were doing. We can hear of activities in the street and in cafes all the time in 2011 until 2013. But after that, it became very difficult for the spaces. I mean. Egypt also all the time had a long history of journalism, also from 19th century, and especially for the cultural journalism. From the beginning of the 20th century, we had lots of magazines that lasted for 1 year, 2 years, or even 23 years, like Risala, for example. It's a very important magazine that lasted from like the 20s until the 40s. But all of them, they were private projects. I mean, depending on writers who are gathering together, and then they published the magazine, and they could distribute it commercially and very well. So our experiment in Tar al-Bahr came to try to fill in the gaps. That we are interested in trying to not writing news about the activities, but trying to find someone who can write a critical article or essay about the activities that happened in the independent scene, especially because the governmental scene is very static, as we see. Perhaps we are very prejudiced. We have some prejudice against the governmental section because we think that we are very ignoring what they are doing. But okay, they have their own coverage and their own newspapers. But the independent scene is for us is very important, and it's not covered enough. Our hope was to have this kind of critical free thinking, not academic writing about the activities that happen in the city, and very personal testifies, if you can say, testimonies about our life right now, especially after the revolution, our life in the city, whether it's in its cultural aspect or in its urban changes.